Jan Ozer here from the Bitmovement booth at NAB. I'm with two engineers from the Daala codec and coding team from Mozilla. We're going to talk about Mozilla's contribution to the AV1 codec in a little bit of time in terms of performance, and when we're going to see AV1 decode in the Firefox browser. Gentlemen, so tell me what portions of AV1 came from Daala.
Yeah, so there are three major contributions that came from Daala. We've got our Chroma from Luma entry predictor, we've got the multi-symbol entropy coder, and then we contributed part of the directional de-ringing filter towards this, shoot, what does CDIF stand for? I just blanked, sorry.
Constrained de-ringing, constrained directional enhancement filter.
Right.
Okay, and what I guess we should start off by saying what Daala was, and how far along were you with that when you joined the Alliance?
Yeah, so Daala was Mozilla's effort to create a royalty-free video codec, and we'd put about 3 years into it between 2012 and 2015 when the Alliance was formed, and we were getting some pretty good results. You know, we were competitive against certain test clips and certain use cases. When the Alliance was formed, it was a group effort by a bunch of companies to kind of pool their resources, and we looked at it as an opportunity to take the Daala technology and put that into what ultimately became AV1.
Okay, and let me get your name and what you do for the company.
Yeah, so I'm Nathan Egge. I'm the manager for the Daala team.
Okay.
I'm Michael Bebenita. I'm an engineering manager on Mozilla Research. I work with Nathan.
Okay, so what you guys want to talk about what you did with Daala and the IP situation? I know you can't talk about AV1 in general, but you know when you're managing a codec development, everybody says you can't develop a codec today without stepping on somebody's IP. What did you do within the Daala development cycle to make sure that didn't happen?
Sure, yeah. So for Daala, what we did was we took a look at the patent landscape, and we noticed there were certain areas that maybe had a lot of patents on them, and took a look at the state of the art and then did something that was somewhat different. And for example, in Daala we had a lap transform, and so no other video codecs have been doing lap transforms. So we did some research there to figure out, okay, well, how could you use lap transforms to do video compression, and ended up developing a bunch of other techniques sort of in support of that. And so from an IP point of view, the idea was to do something that did not infringe by design.
Okay, and when you formed the group, there were a lot of companies who each brought individual IP that was codec related. You know, Microsoft got the VC1 stuff and WMV, and you almost, it sounded like during the development that you almost picked and choose companies based upon the IP they could deliver to the development.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we picked and choose companies, but we definitely picked and chose technologies, right? So all the member companies had sort of the same interest in seeing royalty-free video, and they each brought the contributions they could to the AV1 code base.
Okay. So what do the numbers look like? What, you know, everybody wants to know how much better is it than HEVC? How much longer does it take to encode? And what's the decode tax on the CPU side?
Sure. So in terms of performance, there have been a number of kind of independent studies. I think the Moscow State University published something in January that showed that we were about 30% better than 265 and VP9. They had actually a 4-codec comparison, and they looked at different profiles there. In terms of the encode time, depending on the CPU level used, it sort of varies. We were anywhere between 50 to 200 times slower than VP9 for equivalent rates, and that's because we're a research code base where we haven't done a lot of encoder optimizations.
So where do you see that ending up in a year?
Wow. It'll certainly be better. I know that there are companies as part of the Alliance who are working on doing real-time encoding for video conferencing and things like that, and so I'm certain that there'll be some optimization point where you can get real-time video out of it in the near term. That's a big use case. Okay,
the Moscow University, I guess it's been criticized because the code base they used was old. I mean, when was that AV1 code pulled from?
Yeah, that code was pulled from June of 2017, and so in that time we've actually made quite a number of strides in improving things. And so I imagine that new studies are going to be able to, show that with the current code base we're still getting about 30% better than these other sort of modern codecs.
Okay, and Bitmovement has a survey that they've done or that they had done that's up on the Bitmovement blog now that compares HEVC with AV1 if anybody's curious. So we know the encode side. Well, what's the CPU tax on as compared to VP9? How much more powerful do you need a decoder to play it back today?
So I don't have exact figures to that, but I can tell you that with the demo that we showed here with Bitmoving, we were able to do real-time playback of 1080p content in the browser on like a conventional laptop.
Yeah, that was it's a Dell laptop. I have one just like it, and it's not all that powerful.
Right. 35% CPU utilization.
Yeah, and that was 1080p. Because I looked at that earlier, and it used to be a lot higher. I mean, I'd looked at that when you guys first came out with the demo, and that's when you guys went down from 1080p to 480p. So you've already made the decode side more efficient. Is that?
We've actually done some progress on that even since that demo as well. So we've been working on reducing the memory footprint and adding a bunch of SIMD for transforms and other tools.
Okay. So the big question is, we know all the details on the codec. What about the decode side? I know you guys aren't a part of the Mozilla Firefox team, but what's your expectation in terms of when we'll see decode in Firefox and some of the other browsers in the AV1 committee?
Sure. Well, you can download Firefox Nightly right now, and it has support for AV1 in it. It's using an older hash of libaom, and so we're working on updating that to a more modern hash. We're also working on adding flags so you can pref it on, and it will eventually ship in the mainstream version of Firefox in a disabled form until there's wide support for it.
Okay. And you would expect that to be when?
I believe that you'll see people shipping products by the end of the year with AV1, and you'll definitely see it on in Firefox by default by the end of the year.
Okay, and when will we see HEVC in Firefox?
Hopefully never.
Sorry, I had to ask. Okay, listen, gentlemen, thanks for taking time during your busy week, and good luck with Firefox and the codec.
Thank you.